Welcome to the History Files where forgotten empires, hidden archives, and untold legends come alive. Here, history isn't just dates and battles, it's mystery, power, and the echoes of human destiny. Step inside, the past awaits. The Vanished Army of Cambyses, Unsolved Mysteries that Science Can't Explain. Across the endless dunes of Egypt's western desert, a whisper has endured for over 2,500 years. A story that defies reason, that haunts historians, and that the desert itself seems determined to keep. It is said that an army, 50,000 strong, marched into the sands and never came out. They were soldiers of Cambyses II, the ambitious son of Cyrus the Great and ruler of the Persian Empire, one of the largest the world had ever known. Their mission, to conquer the Oracle of Amun, the most sacred temple of ancient Egypt. But somewhere between the horizon and eternity, they vanished without a trace. In 525 BCE, Cambyses led his forces westward, determined to bring Egypt into the fold of the Persian Empire. His campaign was ruthless and swift. At the Battle of Pelusium, near the Nile Delta, Persian strategy and overwhelming numbers crushed the Egyptian army of Pharaoh Psamtik III. According to ancient accounts, Cambyses used a cruel but brilliant tactic. He placed cats and other sacred animals before his troops, knowing the Egyptians, who revered these creatures, would hesitate to strike. The result was decisive. Egypt fell, and Memphis, once a mighty capital, became a Persian stronghold. But for Cambyses, conquest was not enough. His ambitions extended beyond the battlefield. He wanted to crush not only Egypt's body, but its soul. In the far reaches of the desert, near the border with Libya, lay the Oracle of Amun at Siwa Oasis, a sacred sanctuary said to reveal the will of the gods. Priests whispered prophecies that kings feared and revered alike. For Cambyses, conquering this oracle meant more than territorial power, it was symbolic. It was a message to all Egypt that even the gods would bow before the Persian king. And so, he prepared an army, a massive expedition of 50,000 soldiers, equipped with horses, camels, and provisions. The historian Herodotus, writing a century later, described it as one of the most ambitious military marches in antiquity. The army set out from Thebes, today's Luxor, moving westward toward the Siwa Oasis, a journey of nearly 800 kilometers through some of the harshest terrain on Earth. They followed a network of oases, first Karga, then the smaller outposts that dotted the desert. For a time, the journey went as planned. At Karga Oasis, the soldiers rested under palm trees, refilled their water skins, and prepared for the next leg. But beyond Karga stretched the Great Sand Sea, an ocean of dunes, where shifting winds erase all tracks and landmarks vanish with the sun. Even today, this desert is considered nearly impassable. Its temperatures soar by day and plummet by night. There is no steady water source, no natural shelter. To march 50,000 men through this expanse was an act of monumental arrogance or madness. Herodotus wrote that the army pressed on, determined to reach the oracle. But somewhere in that vast, lifeless sea of sand, they met their end. As they advanced deeper into the wilderness, the wind began to rise, at first gentle, then stronger and stronger still. Soon, the horizon disappeared behind a curtain of dust. Within hours, the storm became a fury, a Khamsin, the desert wind that roars like fire and carries blades of sand sharp enough to flay skin from bone. The soldiers were trapped. The dunes shifted beneath their feet. The air became unbreathable. Herodotus tells us that a great and violent wind arose, burying the army completely. Men, horses, supplies, all swallowed by the storm. And when the sand settled, there was nothing. No camp. No corpses. No trace of the Persian host. Only silence. 50,000 men gone in a single night. For centuries, this story has captured imaginations and doubts. Could an entire army truly vanish without a trace? Or was Herodotus simply recording Egyptian legend, colored by myth and divine symbolism? Some scholars believe the tale was exaggerated, or perhaps entirely allegorical, a moral story crafted to show the power of the Egyptian gods over foreign invaders. Others argue that Herodotus may have been misled by second-hand stories, told by locals long after the event. Still, not everyone dismissed it. Over the centuries, explorers and archaeologists have tried to find the truth buried in the sand. In the early 20th century, several expeditions ventured into Egypt's western desert. Among them was the famed explorer Count Laszlo Almazy, whose adventures inspired the film The English Patient. He searched tirelessly but found nothing more than sand and silence. Then, in 2009, a new claim reignited the mystery. Two Italian brothers, Angelo and Alfredo Castiglione, announced that they had discovered what might be the remains of Cambyses' lost army. Using satellite imaging and ground-penetrating radar, they identified strange formations buried beneath the dunes near Siwa. Their excavation revealed bones, bronze weapons, fragments of jewelry, and shards of Persian-style pottery. The discovery made headlines around the world. Had the desert finally given up its secret? But the excitement didn't last long. The Egyptian authorities quickly dismissed the claim, calling the evidence inconclusive. Other archaeologists pointed out that the region had been crossed for centuries by caravans, nomads, and traders, any of whom could have left behind those artifacts. Moreover, the Great Sand Sea is not kind to preservation. Wind and erosion constantly reshape the dunes, erasing whatever lies beneath. Even if the remains of the Persian army were once there, they may now be scattered beyond recognition. Several theories continue to compete for the truth. One proposes that there was no single cataclysm, no divine sandstorm, but rather a slow, agonizing death by exposure. The army could have been lost, disoriented, their water exhausted, their morale shattered. One by one, they succumbed to the desert's cruelty. Their bones, spread thin across hundreds of miles, would be impossible to find. Another theory suggests rebellion. Perhaps Cambyses' generals turned on him, or the soldiers mutinied and fled into the desert tribes, vanishing into local populations over time. And then there are those who believe the story was never literal, that the lost army was a metaphor for divine punishment, created by priests of Amun to glorify the god's vengeance against a blasphemous king. Whatever the case, no conclusive evidence has ever been found. The desert remains silent, if a keeper of secrets older than empires. The tale of the lost army of Cambyses is not merely a story of disappearance. It is a mirror reflecting humanity's eternal conflict with nature and with hubris. Cambyses sought to conquer not just men, but faith itself. In doing so, he challenged something beyond his comprehension. And the desert, in all its endless indifference, answered him. Today, the mystery continues to draw explorers, historians, and dreamers. Modern satellite technology, LiDAR, and deep radar scanning offer hope that one day the truth will emerge from beneath the dunes. But until that day comes, the story endures, half history, half legend. Perhaps somewhere, beneath the shifting sands of the Siwa oasis, lie the bones of 50,000 men, a silent testament to ambition, faith, and folly. the desert keeps its secrets well. Every gust of wind reshapes the landscape, erasing footprints, rewriting history. And yet, sometimes, it whispers. Perhaps someday, the sands will part, and the world will finally learn the fate of Cambyses' army. Until then, the mystery remains a haunting echo from the Age of Empires. This is the History Files In, where the past never dies. It only waits to be found. Thank you for visiting the History Files In. If the past moved you today, don't forget to leave your mark, subscribe, and return when the next file opens.